everyone, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative, and I have another video tutorial for you showing how to put together the Magic Spin Wheel dies to create an interactive card. So this kit, exclusive to HSN, comes with the die set that you need to make an interactive card, a stamp set so that you can stamp your sentiments. There are some mini brads to create that interactive element, and then lots and lots of scene building ephemera pieces, and I'll be using all of that in today's card. You can cut your pieces from pattern paper or solid colored cardstock, as I did in my previous video, but today I cut all of my pieces from white cardstock so that I could use some of my scene building stencils to help set the scene. So I cut all three pieces, that A2 topper, the large spin wheel, and then that little circular piece that allows the wheel to spin. I cut all three from heavyweight white cardstock. Again, you can use whatever you want, but since I was going to be doing some ink blending to create my scene, I just went with white. I wanted to show you everything you can do with just some basic white cardstock. I'm using the LDRS Creative Rainy Day stencil. That's from my LDRS Creative stash. And you're going to see that I already have this stencil taped off, and that is because I use the borders of this stencil in so many scene building cards. So I have the bottom taped off where the grass is, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm using my magnetic glass craft mat to help me get this straight on my card panel, and then I'm going to come in with some key lime pie ink and just do a light blend of that bright green color coming down off the bottom of the stencil to create that first line of grass. And I'm just coming in with a solid blend of that color, but keeping it light. It's kind of just a shade lighter than that color on the lid of the ink pad. Then what I'm going to do is remove this stencil and then shift it down to create a second layer of grass. You don't have to do this, but it just kind of creates some dimension and creates layers on the background of my card without adding any extra bulk. So again, I'm going to use the lines on my glass craft mat. I've lined up my card panel so that it's straight on that mat, and then I'm going to use the grid lines to line up my stencil to keep the lines of grass straight. Then I'm going to come in with that same key lime pie hybrid ink, and since I'm layering the same color on top of each other, this is actually going to deepen and saturate that color to create a darker color, the appearance of a darker color, even though I'm using the same exact ink pad. So see there, you get a lighter blend and then a slightly darker blend on the top. Now I wanted to create some clouds, so I'm using the top of this stencil along with some Marina Madness ink, and instead of blending off the bottom, I'm just pushing my ink and blending it off the top of the stencil to create rows of puffy clouds. Then I'm just going to shift my stencil down, ink blend off the top again to create another line of clouds. And I'm just going to keep shifting my stencil down and left and right to create rows of these big puffy clouds and create the most beautiful outside scene with just a little bit of ink blending and two colors of ink. I have grass and then clouds at the bottom. Then I'm going to come in and just add some light blue ink at the bottom just to kind of shade that stark white cardstock. Now you can see here that I have the Magic Spin Wheel, and I kind of positioned that behind the cutout window where it's going to go. And the stark white of the cardstock was just a bit too harsh for me, considering I had ink blended my background a little bit. So I'm taking the same blue ink that I used to create my clouds, and I'm just coming in lightly around the edges of this Magic Spin Wheel die cut to kind of soften those edges and make it blend more seamlessly with my card panel. And now when I put this behind, it all kind of looks like it's supposed to go together. Now it's time to stamp my sentiments on both my card front and on my Magic Spin Wheel. I'm going to start with stamping on the card front, and I chose the sentiment that says, "It's a good day to have a good day." And I stamped that with black ink right at the top. You could stamp it at the bottom in the grass line if you wanted to, but I stamped it right at the top, right above where that Magic Spin Wheel sentiment is going to spin and reveal. Now it's time to add the sentiments to our spin wheel, and you can see that when I die cut this, I get these embossed lines that are guides to show me where exactly to stamp my sentiments so that they perfectly peek through that die cut shape in the front of my panel. I'm going to use the curved sentiments down at the bottom. They will all fit in that little banana score line shape. And in my other video, I showed you how easy it is to use an acrylic block, but I wanted to show you that if you have a stamp platform, and if you prefer, you can put all three of your sentiments on your panel at once and stamp them all together. So I'm going to choose 3 sentiments that go along with that "It's a good day to have a good day" main sentiment that I stamped at the top of my panel. And I'm choosing the curved sentiments that fit into that little banana kind of outline shape. And I'm going to place them right in the center so that the bottom curve of the stamp lines up with the bottom curve on my score lines. I'll shift them ever so slightly so that they're all lined up, centered, and perfect. Then I can pick them all up with the door of my stamping platform, stamp them down. I chose to use black ink. You could use whatever color you want. And now when I pick this up and show you, you'll see that I have 3 sentiments perfectly stamped, and when I spin them, these are the sentiments that are going to reveal in that wheel. Now I grabbed my ephemera pieces, and I'm just going to pick through. There are lots and lots of ephemera pieces in this Magic Spin Wheel kit. I chose to go with the tree, then I have the little cat with the kite. I'm going to choose the little bunny that's going to kind of be sleeping up against the tree, and then I have a little critter that is chasing some butterflies, and I'm just going to put all of these on my scene. I'm not using any adhesive yet. I like to play around and get positioning first before I bring in any adhesive. That way I don't end up ruining or wasting anything, my background or these ephemera pieces. So I'm just going to shift them around, play with them, make sure that I can position them so that they're all on the front of my card panel, and so that nothing covers up that little banana shaped window cutout at the top of my card too much. Then I'll bring in my foam adhesive and adhere all of these pieces down at once. We're nearly done, just a couple more steps to go. This is going to be a spin wheel, and I know that and you know that, but the person you're sending this card may not know that they need to spin this wheel to reveal all 3 of their sentiments. So what I'm going to do is line up those embossed lines that are in that die cut wheel, and then I'm going to position that behind my die cut window, place this card front onto my card background, and you'll see that there's a space over to the right of that wheel that's kind of empty there. In the stamp set that comes with this kit, there is a block arrow as well as a sentiment that says "Turn me" with kind of a skinnier arrow, and either one of them can be stamped to the right of the wheel so that your recipient knows that they need to do something to take full advantage of the effects of this card. In my other video, I used the "Turn me" sentiment, so in this one, I'm going to show you how this card looks with just this solid arrow. I have it on my acrylic block. I'm going to ink it up with some Raven Hybrid ink and then stamp that right to the right of my wheel. I'm using the magnets that came with my glass craft mat to hold everything in place so that it's not adhered, nothing's popped up or anything, and that makes sure that I can get a good image when I stamp this arrow down. So there it is, that little arrow that once everything is assembled is going to tell your recipient to turn that wheel. So now that I have everything stamped and adhered onto my card, let's go ahead and put this together. I have one of the mini brads that comes in this Magic Spin Wheel kit. I'm going to put it right through the center of the hole on that little die cut circle, and then put both of those through the hole at the center of that larger spinning wheel. Then I'm going to open up the little legs of the brad and push them down. Now, big tip, you don't want these to be pushed down too much. If you find that that wheel, when you do a practice spin, if it's not spinning freely, you want to loosen up the edges of the brad on the back side. You want this to be able to move. You don't want your recipient to have to force anything or work too hard. I like to add some foam tape to the top of my white circle die cut piece. That just helps to elevate the whole mechanism and keeps everything spinning smoothly. You want to be careful though, if you choose to do this, you don't want adhesive touching the brad or touching that larger spinning wheel. You only want to put adhesive on that center circle. I do find that this step helps a lot. It helps that so that the brad doesn't touch the actual reverse side of your card panel. That foam tape just gives it a little extra lift and helps everything move more freely. Now it's time to stick this onto the back side of my card panel, and I'm going to use those embossed lines that are on my spinning wheel as my guides. So that little banana shape, I'm going to make sure that that lines up with the banana shaped cutout window on the front of my card panel. In addition, there are score lines on the right side of the spin wheel. They're kind of like a stitched slashed line, and they're going to line up with that half circle cutout. So you have two areas of reference to look at when you're lining this up. And now you can see with that foam tape and everything how freely that spins on the back there. So now since we have foam tape on the front, we want to add some to the back too, so that everything once again is lifted evenly and everything spins properly and freely. I'm going to do a double layer of foam adhesive on the reverse side. Again, this is just a tip from me, you don't have to, but I like to do a double layer so that everything is lifted and able to move freely. I think it makes a big difference. Again, though, you need to make sure that that spinning wheel is able to spin freely. So no adhesive can touch that magic spin wheel at all. So I'm putting adhesive, a thin line up at the top, and then down at the bottom as well. But I am making sure, absolutely certain, that nothing is touching that spin wheel. And in fact, just to be doubly certain, I am going to give that wheel a little spin before I adhere this onto my card base. Everything looked good, so I went ahead and stuck that down, and now here is my completed card. I love that this says today is a good day to have a good day, and then there are 3 additional sentiments like I'm lucky to have you and you make me smile, just to bring a bit of happiness. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye!